Welcome to the Wise Ass Show, episode number 5. Jeanie Buss, the Lakers' principal owner. She talks magic, LeBron, her father, Jerry Buss, and why she bought Hugh Hefner's silk pajamas. Take it away, Darlene.
The Wise Ass Show is a presentation of Pure Hoops Media. The Wise Ass Show is hosted by a guy who played basketball atrociously for Hawaii Pacific College, which forced him into journalism. And oh yeah, he wrote about the NBA for the New York Times, Washington Post, and ESPN. He's also a wise ass, and so are many of his guests. Right, Mike?
The Wise Ass Show with me, Mike Wise, is brought to you by Pure Hoops Media. Each week, the Wise Ass Show features compelling basketball people like Lakers owner Jeanie Buss. We'll explore hoops from a variety of angles every Monday. Our midweek show drops on Wednesday and is called Catch and Shoot with Adam Stanko and Noah Kozlov, two of the smartest hoop brains around. On Fridays, we present the Pure Hoops podcast with three-time champion BJ Armstrong and Eric Newman. Please subscribe, download, listen, and rate us. Thanks for your support. Welcome to show number 5, and a very special guest joining me. Someone I've known for a long time, but haven't gotten a chance to see lately. I'll tell you, welcome to the program, the Wise Ass Show. If you didn't know that it was called that, Jeanie Buss, welcome. You are my most important guest there thus far, by the way.
Well, I think that title of your show is appropriate, so I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Jeanie Buss is the controlling owner and president of the Los Angeles Lakers. If you didn't know, she's, grew up in the business with her family and her father. Is this true, by the way? At 19, you were the general manager of the Los Angeles Strings professional tennis team?
Yeah, what happened was, when my dad bought the Lakers and the Kings, he bought the Forum as well. And so when you own an arena, if you have a hockey team and a basketball team, that's, you've got about 100 nights a year. There's still a lot more that needs to be filled up. So he bought into the World Team Tennis LA Strings, and he put me in charge. And it was only a short season, only during the month of July. But, he felt that I was ready. It would be good experience. And I said, great, now that I have a job, I can quit school, because I was a sophomore at the University of Southern California. And he said, no, you can't quit school. That's the most important thing. So you have to stay in school, but you can have the job during the summer. And I did. And it really was, a good experience for me. That year on the team, we had Martina Navratilova as, it was the early 80s, and she was just really coming into her own and
Awesome.
Going on to be a great champion. So, yeah, it was a great experience for me.
I just think of, say I was in your business classes at USC back then. If I was, hey, Jeanie, what are you doing this summer? Oh, I'm going to be the GM of a world tennis team. It's a little different than lifeguarding, geez.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because, I was in the business school at USC, and I was in a class where we had to come up with a marketing plan for an instant pudding company. And so what I did was I got Magic Johnson to take a picture holding some pudding, like he was going to eat it. And I named the company Magic Instant Pudding, and used, created a logo based on his smile. And, it was, I guess, kind of like cheating, but not. I got an A on the project. So I think it was pretty good.
I think you need to revive this. I'd eat Magic's pudding. It sounds good.
Right.
Jeanie Buss is joining us. I guess, you're obviously the principal owner now of the Lakers. Another dramaless week in LA. Nothing going on whatsoever with the Lakers, I guess, on your end, huh? Are you kidding me? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, my dad used to always talk about how when it comes to the Lakers, that the attention that we are under, a microscope, and it's kind of like a soap opera. People want to hear more and more about the Lakers, and for a few years we weren't in that kind of situation as we were rebuilding, and now having the greatest player in the NBA and LeBron James on our team, it's kind of put us back in the center of the NBA universe, and it comes with a lot of scrutiny and attention and rumors and innuendos, and we just have to get used to it again, because that's how it used to be.
I win from afar, and I haven't been reporting like I used to in the NBA, but from afar, all I get from media reports is the Lakers are driving this deal and pressuring the New Orleans Hornets into giving them Anthony Davis, and offering the ship basically to do so. Is any of that close to the truth on your end?
It's not for me to comment on. I leave that to my basketball front office, and I think that during the trade activities, I think a lot of rumors are reported that are positioning other teams, and not necessarily the truth. And I think that if we look at the bigger picture of using the media to manipulate things, it's gotten to be cutthroat, and I think that people are losing sight that there's human beings involved in all this, and rumors and speculation can hurt people's feelings, damage their careers. And so I don't like what's happening to our industry that way, and I don't like it, especially when it's being placed by teams that are trying to take advantage and try to are just trying to damage another team through the media. It's irresponsible, it's reckless, and I don't want any part of it, and I don't appreciate it. And I'll just leave it at that.
No, I look from afar. Yeah, I was going to say, it just the narrative is sort of the Lakers are Microsoft, and the Hornet. I'm sorry, the Pelicans are just this little tiny mom and pop shop. You guys are running out of business. I don't. I'm sure there's a lot more truth. I'm sure there's a lot that's more perception than reality. And it's too bad on many levels. But like you said, people get hurt. They have hurt feelings. Lonzo Ball took down all the Lakers things on his social media, thinking that he was gone. He was convinced he was gone, and all of a sudden, he's pumped as hell that he's back with you guys. I guess that's just part of the business. But is Magic in fact going to Philadelphia to sort of make sure that all the players know you guys are beloved, you're Lakers, and you're going to be here as long as this season goes? At least,
I think Magic goes on the road with the team during the season. I think in particular, it's really important to him that he, help the team move past all the distraction that was leading up to the trade deadline, and answer any concerns that any of them have. And I can tell you this, that there's nothing more important outside of his family to Magic Johnson than the Lakers are. And I think, having been in this business for as long as both he and I have been, we lose sight of what it's like to be a young person in the middle of all that hype. And, I think it's, I think he wants to reconnect with the team because they've been on the road. And, like I said, he's completely dedicated to this team, and I appreciate that he's going to be there. And it's a big game for us, and it's on national TV, and hopefully we'll have a good showing to follow up our victory in Boston.
I'm talking to Jeanie Buss, the principal owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. And I would say, if we're not real friends, I would call her a peripheral friend in the business because we don't see each other very much. But she's, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might be one of the most wealthiest people I know. That's about the most down to earth people I know. I mean, Jeanie Buss, by the way, folks, will take the writers out for drinks. Actually, we'll try and pay. I don't know if you remember this. We all ended up, I think, after a Lakers training camp in Hawaii. We were at the Ilokai Hotel with one of Jeanie and her friends, and the writers are just sitting around, and we're just shooting the shit, and Jeanie's kind of giving us every Laker story, and basically says, if you write that, I'll kill you. And we said, okay, good. We're not taping right now. So at any rate, no, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, where did you get the layman's touch? Because often when people get to levels of that kind of income, they don't deal with the little people, so to speak.
I appreciate you sharing that story with everybody so that they know. I have been around for a long time, and it's important to me to kind of know the people that are around our business, and I appreciate every writer, the media, the people that cover our team, and how I appreciate that they're doing their job, that they are just like me. They have a job to do, and everybody's the same. We're all human beings, and we all have our own hopes and ambitions, and I have respect for people, and I would never think of myself as above any of that. And certainly, part of my journey has been being able to connect with people in all areas of the business, to learn from them, to hear, from their perspective what this industry is about. And, I appreciated the time that, when we were hanging out, I appreciated the time that you would, let me know what your thoughts were on, different subjects that affect our business.
I guess in some ways, because the Lakers are so popular, not just in Los Angeles, but almost an international phenomenon in many ways, not just because of the players over the years, but it's just the Lakers, the Celtics, they're sort of the Yankees and the Red Sox of the NBA in many ways. And when you have a bad year, it feels like the NBA's down. Do you feel like owning the Lakers is almost like a public trust in some ways? You're not just looking at dividends for yourself, but you're also looking at a franchise and how it looks from the outside as well.
Absolutely. To me, the fans do own the brand. Like they are what makes the Lakers special. And so, I am, blessed to be in the position that I am, because my father really it was important to him that the Lakers stay in the family, that his vision continue to thrive in, what he built with the Lakers. I like to say that my dad had, 6 children, but the Lakers really are his baby,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
it was important to him that, that the Lakers be, the tradition continued, and he set up a plan so that was possible, and here we are. And I know he would be very happy to know that Magic Johnson is steering the ship to get Laker basketball back to, the level that the Laker fans are used to.
2 years ago, I remember having a real frank conversation with you. I'm not going to go into the details because many of them were private, and you still have relationships with people there. But I will say this: what made you seize the reins of the organization? Was there a defining fork in the road moment where your brother Jim or somebody in the organization, Mitch Kupchak, whatever, just you didn't feel like going forward that it was going to work?
Well, it wasn't just one moment. It was watching how things were progressing, and certainly when you're changing coaches every 18 months, that it's very difficult to get traction in terms of a direction because coaches, we had some great coaches, but they have their own style, their own philosophy, and you have to build a roster to fit whatever style the coach wants to play. And when you're changing every 18 months, it's really hard to figure out where the roster development's going, what's happening. And it was, we were losing our way. And my brother had suggested that it would take 3 years for us to get back into contention. And when I say contention, that means making the playoffs and possibly getting to the second round. That was kind of always what the goal was when Dr. Buss ran the team. And here we were, missing year after year of the playoffs. And I couldn't see a direction. We were not attracting free agents to the team because we couldn't answer their questions about what kind of direction we were going in. And it was, I felt that it was appropriate to make a change before any more decisions could be, made that would put us in a more difficult situation to recover from. And so I had a conversation with Magic Johnson, that January, a month before we made a change. And I asked him to come in and try to, bridge the gap between my understanding of what Laker basketball would be and what our front office was trying to build. And because when Magic and I sat down, it was, the conversation we had was so, we were so connected because we learned from the same person. Our experience about how to run an organization came from the same grassroots from Jeanie Buss. And, it was of that like mind that I knew we weren't going in the direction that Dr. Buss would have wanted. And ultimately, my dad knew that you had to have one person who had the authority to make changes. And he gave me that authority, and he put me in charge. And he had said to me, if the team is ever going in the wrong direction, you're going to have to, make changes. That may be hard for you to do, but you will have the clear authority to do so. And when I was named the controlling owner by the NBA, recognized by the NBA, and just so people understand that every team has what is defined as the governor, the person that can bind the team and is held accountable for all decisions, so that there's only one voice per every team in the league. And that person was me. And it was important that people understood that there was someone in charge, because when it was unclear before, and that's why it had to be determined and discussed and done publicly so that people would understand.
Jeanie Buss is our guest on the Wise Ass Show. She's as transparent and real as they get when it comes to controlling owners of any situation. I'm not going to go into my own details, but at one point I was threatened by a family member with a story I had written, and she threatened to sue me over the contents of it, and I obviously, and it was hurtful. I don't think we've mended fences since. The lawyer I had basically sent her back this letter saying, you would be in real bad stead here if you even contested this. And from that moment on, I don't think I've talked to that side of the family. Was that rough with you? I know you went to Superior Court and you had to seek a restraining order from Jim and Johnny because you didn't want them upending the Lakers board of directors and your role in it. And you were, if I'm accurate, you were successful in the suit because the legal logic says that as the controlling owner, you have to be on the board of directors. So it was a power play, but essentially you were given legally the right to be that controlling owner. Looking back, is it something you had to do? And have you mended those fences with family members, or is it something that it's irreconcilable and maybe down the road?
I think that, you got into greater detail about, what exactly happened because I was making that change. And as it turns out, my brothers were, they had a plan of their own of how they would take over control of the team. So that's why I had to do it swiftly and decisively. And that's why people even had to hear about it, which is unfortunate. But, it was, a difference of opinion. And it was clearly my father's intention was for me to be in charge. And, it's unfortunate, but, those things happen, especially in family businesses, which is surprising that, most of the businesses in the country are family businesses, and these kind of conflicts come up a lot. So it's nothing. It's just a very high profile business that we're in, that people even heard about it. So I think that
have Jim or John made any amends to you in any way, or do you still speak?
They don't need to. I mean, I think, they are beneficiaries of the Lakers entity, and I think they're happy with how things are going, certainly. And I think they understand, it's just a difference of opinion, and, it's just, that's the way Dr. Buss wanted it. And I think we're all good now. We're all good.
Okay. So there's communication, and I've also learned, by the way, the farther away I live from my family, sometimes the more I love them. I don't know if that's with you at all. Or, it's like, or what do they say? Family of origins and family of choice. If you're family of choice, you're not getting along with them, you can always pick other family members that aren't necessarily your blood. But I'll leave it at that. Jeanie Buss is my guest. One of the other things we talked about back then was, I don't know, you won't remember this, but I'd ask you, I said, you guys, will you have an audience with LeBron James when he becomes a free agent? Will you? And I remember you saying specifically, well, we hope to, if he'll grant us a visit. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, God, I was so dumb. I should have followed up on that. When did you feel like this could really happen? Was there a fork in the road in that moment where okay, LeBron James could actually come here? When do you remember that moment?
Well, we'd been kind of humbled by some of the free agent activity, in the last few years. And so as much as we like to, think it was, it was going to be easy, we knew it wasn't going to be easy. But really, Magic put us in a direction where it was clear to everybody where we were going, what we were doing, that we had a leader, that every decision Magic and Rob Pelinka, our general manager, were making were, complemented the decision before it. Like we weren't all over the map. It was clear that we were united behind our coach and the style of play that he wants to play, and getting players that would fit that. Also, get us in a position where we could be able to sign a free agent should there be somebody that we were interested in, or making trades so that we had a balanced roster. And I think we set as a good a story, we set a stage as best we could, and then whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And I believe in Magic, and I believe in his conviction of what he wants the Lakers to be, and we're watching people gravitate to that and want to be part of what we are building.
So the call, who gives you the call? Is it Irvin? Is it Magic, or that says, or is it LeBron himself, or do you call him? When do you actually how do you react when you hear he's coming?
Well, Magic had a meeting with him, after free agency started. Mm-hmm. And he gave me the download of the meeting, and that he thought it went well, but that there was a conversation about, like, you have to we had to respect his process, like to allow LeBron to really consider all his options. This was his free agency. This was his decision to make. And, we there was no rush. We were going to give him whatever time he needed to make the decision that, was important to him and to his family. And I think that, people lose sight of how in the NBA, players, through the collective bargaining agreement, at one point in their career, have the right to become a free agent. And, we have to respect, when players want to take the time, when they want to choose, for the first time in their career, where they want to play, who they want to play with, and it's their process, it's their decision.
My guest is Jeanie Buss. So the LeBron episode is great on two levels. One, the Lakers again get one of the premier players, in my book, the greatest player in the game right now, and two, but all of a sudden you go from this team that was fun to watch, but you're not a contender at all, to maybe you're one player away now. I guess my biggest thing, Jeanie, would be, could you define success for these next 4 years with LeBron? In your mind?
I mean, in my mind, it's the Lakers under Dr. Buss, in his 35 years of running the team, only missed the playoffs twice. And so really, success was always being part of the conversation by being in the playoffs, having the opportunity to, have a path to a championship. So certainly that's what Magic Johnson is bringing back to Laker basketball. I think this year in particular has been tough because of injuries. And, I think there was one game early in November where every single player we have was healthy. And that's tough on a coaching staff when you're trying to establish a rotation. We have a few guys on 1-year contracts who, are with us, in the short term for now, but as we build a roster, who knows what will happen. But the roster was built with keeping flexibility of the salary cap, but also, surrounding LeBron with the best possible players that we could get to help, make a push for the playoffs.
Is the whole 4-year experiment or whatever? I mean, he'll be 38 when his deal expires. Apparently, would you, if the Lakers don't win a title during his tenure, do you look at it as, if not a failure, a disappointment?
It's a disappointment every year when we don't win a title.
That's championship talk right there.
Well, I mean, that is the truth, that
Yeah.
everybody, when you compete in something, you're not, looking at that 8th spot. You're looking to win, and why not? Like, there's always a path, and what you do is you create whatever you can to help you get and be on that path. And you never know what's going to happen, but you have to be part of the conversation. And being at the bottom of the standings had made it, it wasn't what our brand, really stood for. And so, we saw our ratings starting to drop. And, when you see a kid in your neighborhood wearing a t-shirt for the champions, the Golden State Warriors, it hurts a little bit. And we were losing that connection to our fans because we weren't part of the playoff picture. And when we lost our direction, it's hard to recover that. And, we had to get things going in the right direction. And I feel that people can see the direction that we're going in. They can see a path that we're building to the success that we'd like to have.
Jeanie Buss is the guest, and I can't thank her enough for coming on with me. I want to take her down memory lane a little bit here because she's been such a big part of their successes and everything that's happened with them. Were you did you have any mixed feelings about the breakup of Kobe and Shaq when it happened? Did you just know that it had to happen because Shaquille was getting older, or when you look back on it?
Well, I mean, it's like it had nothing to do with Shaq's age. It had to do with the fact that he had been his contract had been grandfathered through the previous collective bargaining agreement. So the amount of money that he could get paid was not something that, Dr. Buss felt he wanted to pay. And so it was really just about a contract. And it was clear that there wasn't going to be an agreement, and it was time to make a trade. And so go ahead.
No, go ahead. I cut you off.
No, I mean, in other words, if he had, come down from his asking price, there wouldn't have been a trade. It was really just about finances. It wasn't about anything other than that. And, Shaq went on to win another championship. So you can't say it was about his age or his ability, because, he still had championship years in him.
Yeah, and not only that, when Pat Riley went out there and sort of entertained the idea of maybe coming back to coach again, were you guys serious about bringing him back as the Lakers coach right before that trade was made?
I wasn't part of the conversation then. That was a meeting that Dr. Buss had, and so I think that Pat Riley, when he's a free agent, because he's not a free agent right now. So I really don't want to talk about any other.
No, I mean, Pat Riley told me the whole story where he just,
there you go.
You guys they drank a bunch of wine that night, and it was sort of rumored. But the one thing the one thing that he was sort of predicating on his decision, if he ever would go there, was Shaq and Kobe being together. And once he knew that Shaq was out, he basically went back to Miami and formulated a plan so he could get Shaq, which I
He's
think
a
is
smart man. He is a
y-
smart man. I'll give him that.
yeah, yeah. One of the stories I remember, everybody had their own Riley stories, and I'm sure you were as privy to them as all of them. But I remember you sat up with a bunch of the writers one night, and you looked at us, and you go, you guys don't get it, do you? And I go, what do you mean, Jeanie? And you said, it's not women that all want Pat Riley. It's that men want to be him. He goes, you said he's a dude magnet. You called him a
Right.
dude magnet. I love that term. Like, what is it about that guy? Like everybody you're right. I love his hair. I mean, I love to have this idea of just telling somebody that makes 20,000 times as much as me, like just go run some lines, get away from me. But what is it? What is it about Pat Riley? What was there a moment where you were sort of taken in yourself by going, God, this guy is just commanding?
Yeah, I mean, we watched him go from being, the, co-host on our broadcast with Chick Hearn to an assistant coach and then becoming the head coach of the Lakers, and him taking on that authoritative role and a leader and understanding what that meant, to lead a group of people, and the someone being in the right place at the right time and the right person. It was like, it was meant to be. It was all part of Pat Riley's journey to become who he was, and we watched it happen, and there was no better person at leading, the premier franchise at the time than Pat Riley. And how lucky we were that things fell into place the way that they did.
They really did. And one of my favorite columns I did for the Washington Post was when essentially you guys won the first title without Shaq, and Kobe won it in 2009, and you won back to back 2009, 2010. I did a column at the finals that year, basically that you were actually the reason that they won it all. And my thought was this, and I actually got people to go on the record about it, was Phil Jackson doesn't come back if he doesn't have, if he's not in love with you and you're going to have this incredible relationship. And I asked him about it and I go, is that true? And he goes, that's true. And he goes, I always say the Buss family because I don't want to put it out there, but that's right. And,
Aww.
and I just thought it was sweet that sort of, that's the reason he came back to LA and part of the reason why you guys won it again.
Well, I mean, it's like in context, it was Phil was part of the three-peat in the early 2000s, and then it was decided that Shaq was leaving and Phil was leaving, and they were resetting, and Rudy Tomjanovich became the coach, and Phil went on a vacation, and things didn't go well for Rudy. He stepped down as the coach, and Frank Hamlin, coached the rest of that season. And I could tell that Phil, was missing basketball. I knew that my dad wanted to get back to winning, and that there was a bridge that could be built between the two. And my dad was, open to them talking, and it was, they found their way to a meeting of the minds, and Phil came back, and Kobe was happy, and they got to the playoffs that first season, but it was tough. But then when Pau Gasol came in 2008, then that was the piece that they needed, and they got to the finals in 2008 only to lose to the Celtics. Then got back to the finals, beat Orlando in 2009, and then the rematch against the Celtics in 2010. And that was the last time that the Lakers were in the finals. But that was quite a memorable championship run, and miss those days.
Jeannie and I have more in common than most people realize. No, I don't have her wealth, but I do have a fondness for dogs, and she does too. She had a beautiful, about 10-pound Maltese. Her
Yeah.
name was Princess Cujo, if I remember.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she would, like, she'd sometimes dress her in Lakers gear, and it
Yeah.
was just, she was the cutest dog. She sent me a picture of her. And you actually were one of the few people in the NBA that actually, after my dog had fallen through the ice, and both, the kids saved me, and I got the dog out, and we lived to tell the story. You were one of the first people that said, "God, that was an amazing story. I'm glad you're okay," and always meant a lot to me. That dog, Princess Cujo, is no longer with us. Is that correct?
She's with me in spirit, but she's no
Okay.
longer physically here.
Yeah. And you haven't got
Yeah.
another dog yet.
No, and it's like people, people who are not dog people will say to you, "Well, just get another dog." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, that's like you don't understand." Because it's
No.
like if you are lucky enough to find that dog that really captures your heart and is your true wingman,
Yeah.
it's it's hard to just replace that. And but I know, like, my heart is open, and I hope at some point there'll be a dog that just fits that space, and
Mm,
it will never be the same. But I love dogs, and I think that the world would be a better place if we all had a dog.
mm. My losing my beloved Luli last summer, same way. I can't get a dog until I really mourn her and grieve her, and I
Hmm.
feel like I'm still doing that in a lot of ways. So this is the worst segue of all. I remember that column. You know, you had a great line, and it basically said, you just call Phil common law. Basically, and this was the greatest line of all. At this point, I'd rather get a championship ring than an engagement ring from him. I
That's a
love
true
that.
story.
That's a great quote. I can't believe you gave that to me. But it was true though, and you did get a championship ring.
I did, and
But
I got an engagement ring, but we're
yeah,
no longer together. But it like we really complemented each other, and I learned so much about the business through the coach's eyes. And I treasure that time with him, because Phil is a real visionary of the game, and really one of the real insightful people I've ever had, the pleasure of knowing, and just how he looks at the world.
mm.
He's really, really a special person to me.
At the time, Phil said, I asked him, "Okay, why don't you just marry her? Because I know that was important to you." And he
Yeah.
said, "I didn't want to sully the relationship too bad. It's bad enough that I date the owner's daughter, but if I would marry, but if I would marry her, that would really be an underhanded way of getting employment." Um, I thought it was funny, but yeah, you did break up. Was it the distance? Was it just you guys growing apart? If I'm prying too much, let me know. But I just feel like I felt like the times I did see you with him, and him with you, you guys look pretty happy.
Um, we were happy that, when he took the Knicks job, it was, we did a lot of soul searching and discussing, and, there really was no place for him, with, to follow his basketball, heart, to be with the Lakers. And so, I think it was something that was an important challenge to him. I think he felt that he had more to give to basketball, and I couldn't stand in his way. And I think the distance just took a toll, and we grew apart. And and for me, it was even more. The job, you know, really pulled me in, and it showed me to me that the Lakers truly are my first love. And you know we made our separation, and we're friends now. And he's happily, I think he's happily retired. And
Where's he live?
he's
Where's he living?
He's got his place in Montana, that's his favorite, but he still has a house here in LA. So I
Do
see
you
him
guys
when
go out
we
to
have,
do you guys go out to
yeah,
dinner still?
yes, yes, yes. And he's always somebody that I feel I could, bounce things off of. And
Mhm.
obviously he's very close to Luke Walton, having coached
Mhm.
Luke for many years. And he's somebody that when you look at our practice facility, there's so many things that are inspired by him in the design. Just for example, we have a lot of natural light that comes into the building, which a lot of basketball people want that bunker mentality, no windows, no outside world being able to look in. But Phil really knew that you had to treat a player, the whole player, that you could have your practice, but if things aren't good and healthy for that player, it's going to come onto the court. And so natural light is something that allows these guys, when they are traveling so many time zones all the time, that it helps your natural body rhythm.
So you're not getting back together with Phil, and you're not going to break that news on the show, are you?
No, no, no. No, but I thank you for the a lovely thought. But I am I'm devoted to my work, and
So you're never going to get
that's
married.
my part. I don't I don't think people really. It's not, at my age it doesn't really matter. So I
Um,
think we're all good.
let me finish up a couple more minutes here with Jeanie Buss. You've kept saying Dr. Buss, Dr. Buss. Uh, you called him Dad, didn't you?
Yes, I mean, in professional settings, I like to refer to him as Dr. Buss instead of
Yeah.
my dad. But yes, when we were hanging out, it was just he was my dad, and
So this is the other thing we have in common. My dad was he was basically a wonderful person, loved me to death, but he had more issues than a bond measure, and he just was a drinking, carousing journalist for like a part of his life, and then he became an Episcopal priest and freaked us all out. But he was great, and I miss him, and he actually died within a week of your father. Um,
really, I didn't know
yeah, he
that.
died. Yeah, it was in 2013, like February 10th or something, and it's been years, but for all the complexity that of our relationship, I still loved him a lot, and I wondered if that was the same with your dad, because he obviously divorced your mom when you were very young, and you guys and you really grew up in a different, in a broken home in some ways, even though you had all these other things going on. Do you have any? Did you have a great relationship with him?
Yeah, I mean, it's I talk about that in my book about my parents. That was the generation that you were. The logic was you were supposed to spare your children from anything that would be scary or hurtful. And now they would never. They would tell you to communicate with your kids and let them know what's going on, so that they don't have to try to figure out, and I think that was something that was difficult for me in my childhood, was just kind of understanding why other kids' dads were home, and my dad wasn't home. I couldn't explain it. And so we when I graduated from high school, I went to live with him at he bought a house in Beverly Hills that was, like a famous old movie star mansion called Pickfair. It was owned by Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. And so we had this nice, about 10 years where we lived together, and, got to spend a lot of time and catch up on things that we missed out on when I was younger.
from the book that I read, the parts that I read, you felt emotionally abandoned a little bit when you were that age.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens is kids, they don't know how to cope with, information, or they don't, it's just, I don't think I'm alone in that. I think
No,
many
I'm
children
there
are
too.
products, right,
Yeah.
of divorce, and also even families in the military, when parents are deployed and they're gone and they're absent, it's scary for a kid because they don't really understand what's going on. And I think now, they would tell you, the experts would tell you, communicate, answer questions, and let them know that, mom or dad is gone, not for anything that they did, but this is the reasons why, and this is when you'll see them, and just so that they're not left wondering.
Um, was your father in favor of posing for Playboy in, I believe it was 95?
I didn't ask my father's permission about posing. It was
Yeah,
something
by the
that
way, you were old enough to decide on your own. This is true.
exactly. And so, I was, 30, I was over 30 years old, and I, thought about all the things that I'd wanted to do in my life and challenge myself. And that was one of them. And I was like every other model that has been in the magazine. I had to go through a test photo shoot to see if I would be approved. And once I was approved and, went through the process, then that's when I told my dad. And my dad, being the great father, and also really, really good with the media, had such a great quote about it. His quote was, "It will be the first issue of Playboy magazine that I've never read." So, he gave
Forgot about
his
that.
approval. Yeah, like his approval of the magazine, and but I am his daughter. But
Yeah,
it was something that was close to my heart. And you
yeah.
know, Hugh Hefner passed away, in the last year or so, and recently, his estate, the stuff that was, his possessions went, up for auction. And I think what people don't understand is that when somebody passes away, when you keep all of their stuff, you have to pay estate taxes to the government. So that's why you see a lot of these estates um, be liquidated, because
Yeah.
there's taxes to pay. So I don't know what possessed me, but I thought, I would really like to have a pair of Hefner's pajamas. He was very well known. My dad got such a kick out of him because he said, Hef likes to be in his pajamas, and he won't go anywhere unless he can wear his pajamas. And my dad just got a kick out of that, because my dad was a very, like, dressed down kind of guy. Like, he liked to wear blue jeans, and if he wasn't accepted wearing blue jeans, then he really didn't want to go to that place. And
Mm.
so I was fortunate enough to buy a pair of Hefner's custom, silk pajamas. And so a couple weeks ago, when we celebrated Jeanie Buss night at a Laker game, I wore the pajama top with a pair of jeans, just like my dad would have, to the game. And it's like, Hef and my dad were really good friends, and I always admired Hef, and I'm friends with his family to this day. And it was an honor to wear his pajamas to a Lakers game
Wow.
last night.
Did you spend time at the Playboy Mansion afterward, occasionally, just to check up on him, or you guys have that kind of relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the mansion, several times, and even after a couple of the championship wins, we had parties up at the mansion. So, it was like home for me.
And it's for what it's worth. I wanted to pose myself at one point for some publication, and I suggested the dad bod issue to ESPN, and that didn't go over well at all. It was pretty sad actually. Well, no, I thought it was great, and it just shows you you're probably as self-aware and as comfortable about yourself as anybody I know. The last couple, was it different at all when your father dated really young women that were your age or younger, or was that something you just got used to?
I got used to it. It's like my dad didn't date an age; he dated a person, and he had, you know, he had really great taste in the people that he dated. A lot of them are still my friends to this day, and he had a energy for life that was contagious. People wanted to be around him, and I couldn't keep up with him, to be honest with you. He could go out every single night, go to dinner, and then go to a club, play poker, whatever. He had a lot of energy, and he enjoyed his life as as he deserved, because he worked very hard to get what he had, and he enjoyed life to its fullest.
Well, I think he'd be very proud of you, and you probably miss him still. But I think everything that's happened with the team, and irrespective of how it happened, I think he'd be really proud of you, and I hope you know that.
I mean, it's seeing Magic Johnson every day at work is it. We're honoring his memory. That the man that inspired us and taught us everything, and I hope that he would be proud, and I appreciate you saying that, because that really resonates with me. It
Mm.
makes me feel good in my heart.
Well, I'm going to really play a quick lightning round with you and then let you go because I know you have things to watch on TV tonight. It's a big night. All right. All right. Here we go. Lightning round with Jeanie Buss, the controlling owner and president of the Los Angeles Lakers, a person I've liked and respected for a long time. Okay. I'm going to go, let's see, first, shoot, Magic Johnson.
Just like one word answer.
Oh, you could, anything that comes to your mind. It could be one. It
um,
could be yes. It could be one word. It could be a sentence. It could be a thought.
um, my my best friend, my
Mm,
inspiration.
that's incredible. Jack Nicholson.
Legend. And it's funny because with
Mm.
him, people were like, oh, he doesn't come to games very often anymore. Well, that's because we weren't doing well. Now that there's excitement back in the building, he was there on opening night.
Does this sound like Jack at all? Tell me, Jeannie. I'm not going to hurt you. Just give me the bat. No, it's
Not
not.
bad, not bad. That's pretty good.
I sat like 3 seats from him once when we were on press row, when you guys actually let us go down there back in the day, and he looked at me like he was gonna give me 2 middle fingers. Um, but but,
That's why we have him sit next to the visiting bench. People
good.
wonder why he's sitting there. You just never know. You have to look over at him. You don't know
Right,
what's coming at you,
he could
right?
break out the axe at any point. Oh, man, that's hilarious. Shoot, Diane Cannon.
Sweetheart.
Mm.
She's a Laker sweetheart. Everybody loves her. She brings brownies to like the everybody that works downstairs. She's just a sweetheart. Love her.
Um, Jerry Buss.
Dr. Buss. It's like,
You.
yeah,
You're
he's just he's he's everything. He's the heartbeat. He's the inspiration.
LeBron James.
Phenomenal. I there was a play early in the season where he did something where I had to look around at everybody like, did you guys just see that? Because I've never seen anything like it. It's so great to have him on our team, and for me to see him in person, because he was in the Eastern Conference. We got to see him once a year, and to be able to look out and watch him practice is just he's amazing.
Kobe Bryant.
He is the best. His basketball, his intellect, his determination, he sets the bar. He is truly 20 years with one team, you'll never see that again. Like the definition of success and hard work.
That's nice. Mike Wise.
I think of like longevity, like in this business, and your ability as a journalist to tell a story and bring a story, and professional, true professional.
Thank you very much. And that's it. I don't have anything else. You've been so nice to me.
The Wise Ass Show is a presentation of Pure Hoops Media.